What's your topics we gonna cover? U.S. terrorism. And what was the other one you had?
Well, I think just rise of terrorism might be an interesting one, right? Like
Yep. Yep.
Syria is going on, the shit in Somalia, ISIS
Yep.
there, like it's kind of flown
Yep.
under the radar.
Yep.
There we go. There we are. All right, I'm gonna edit mine up.
And then, oh yeah, yeah, the future of terrorism. And then, what was the other one you said?
Just we got the fucking Jocko gym stuff
Yeah, that was
and
it. That was it.
sort of terrorism moving forward. I think are both interesting.
We want to keep them separate because I'm cutting this. Last time it did 45,000 views cut,
Okay.
so it did like 20. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
cut
I
them.
mean,
So.
we can just say hey cut, or we'll just like fucking take a pause,
Oh no
switch
no
to
it
whatever
doesn't
you want to switch
it
to.
doesn't matter. I just cut it in the middle and used it. It was awesome.
Oh,
Like it
okay.
worked out really good last time. So
All right, customization. Live chat replay. Yeah, I think we're right now. It's recording. It's doing all this, but
yeah.
whatever. All right, I think I should be live here in a sec. Should be live. We'll find out as soon as I see chat rolling in.
Oh, you
Gonna
got your chat
move
on the
people.
screen, right?
Just got one of the web browsers pulled up right now. I'm gonna go
Okay,
off my phone though.
that's what I'm trying to do.
Uh, okay, there we go.
Is there a delay? Is it delayed a little bit? Like 20 seconds?
Shouldn't
Oh
be.
yeah, here we go. Here we go. It's up.
Oh, there's the chat. All right.
It's up.
All right, see
It's
ya.
up.
Shouldn't be. All right, we're good. Chat's rolling in. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Make sure give us a second for people to move over from the other one, and then we'll get it going here.
Hey folks, man, listen, we looks like we got this figured out, man. I've only been in here for 30 minutes messing around with camera settings and everything else. Nate's over here 5x5. We got everybody. You guys can hear Nate good on my channel, and you can hear me good on Nate's channel.
Yeah, we'll make sure the audio is good. I know we had an issue with that on the
Yeah.
last one. Everybody, audio
2K is
good.
in here. My resident band director slash former Marine.
What's up,
Boom.
everybody? Good morning. Good morning.
Shit, we already at 100 folks over here now.
We got some interesting stuff to talk about today, everybody. I can tell you that. Got visual and audio good. I think we're good to go. Let me get my chat pulled up here. It should be good.
Hey folks, listen. Here's something that we're talking about in the Kabul. So if you guys don't know, it's me, Nate. It's Jay from Green Beret Chronicles. Ben, the biker, is associated. Ben Pappas, and obviously Aaron Love. We're talking about having a live event, and so we're all looking at our phones and the YouTube studio, trying to figure out where we need to do a live event at. And it looks like Texas or Vegas, and we're trying to figure it out. What does a live event look like? You know, obviously there's some
Yep.
folks out there. Tony Robbins doing huge live events. Ben Pappas does huge live events. So we're thinking about putting a band together, getting us all into one place. Put in the comments, you know, just shoot us a comment. How much would you pay for a ticket, and how long does it need to last? I know Tony Robbins goes all day, man, like 10 hours, 8 hours. So you're gonna have a bunch of us, but think about that. Think about what you want. You know, obviously you can reach out to me at jake.zwig@gmail. My stuff is all over the place. Reach out to the people you like. Let us know what you're thinking. You know, on gyms. Oh yeah, they asking about it already. They want to know about gyms laundering money for the cartel. So hey, if you guys haven't seen my latest video, um, it's not my latest video. It's a video 2 videos ago where Pierre talks about how they launder money. They don't even bring the money. The money never leaves the United States. It just trades hands, and it goes from the cartel to a realtor, and then the people in China are buying the money over here So it doesn't even leave. Like the cash doesn't leave. It goes into the normal hands, and then they send goods to Mexico. That's the wash. So
Hold, what the fuck? Why am I getting? I'm getting like a. Oh, that's my phone. I'm freaking out, dude. I'm like, I have you back playing from the computer. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Oh, it's playing from my phone.
listen,
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. God, man, we're dinosaurs.
no question,
All
bro.
right.
We just lucky. Hey, I gotta hang a door today. I took it all apart, and I was like, yeah, yeah.
All right, Meryl, my fence is falling down in the back. You got half of it blown off, like ripped in half from the last windstorm. Oh boy. All right, so yeah, first thing we're gonna talk about, of course, got a Navy SEAL on the channel. Have to talk about. I would say probably the most famous Navy SEAL, if you know. Well, maybe not, but I mean, he's in that circle.
Solidly. You ain't gonna beat David Goggins. I like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
if
that's
you
true.
put you ain't gonna beat David Goggins, and it's I'm gonna go with Dick Marcinko because
That's another one.
that dude carry a lot of weight. And then after that, everybody's being quiet professionals, right? Like we got some Medal of Honor winners that if they stood next to you, you'd never know who they were.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, Jocko, obviously, his gym in the news. If you haven't watched my episode, we'll give you a little brief rundown. I've got some huge updates on this from people who literally worked at that gym who messaged me after the video came out, or guys who've trained there, with some pretty wild information on this
oh
guy, but also yeah, insane.
whoa.
But also things I didn't know when I made the video. I just had reporting. I was basically sent messages that talked about this being one of Jocko's business associates early in 2017, 2018. No, he wasn't just a business associate. He was basically the sales manager for the gym for years. Okay. So this was a straight up employee of this gym. Not just some random guy that happened to, train at the gym. Because that was the thing a lot of people said. It's like, well, how, just because Jocko trained this guy doesn't mean he knows about his backstory. True. And I agree with that. And however, when he's your employee for years, right? Now all of a sudden that's a little bit different than just some guy who had a membership at your gym when it comes to, for if you didn't see what happened, I believe his name is Ruben Silva or Ruby Silva, one of the two, a couple different nicknames. Well, we'll talk about his big nickname here in a second. But he was convicted, I believe, on March 3rd. At least Justice.gov put it out then,
Yep.
for high-level drug trafficking, and then also basically hiring sicarios to try to put hits on his competition in the area. Got caught. Is doing almost 20 years in, I believe, federal prison for that. Okay, so that's the backstory. One of Jocko's former employees, the guys I talked to, stopped working out at the gym in like around 2020 ish. So I don't know
Did
how
they
long he worked there after, but
did they say why they stopped working out there, Nate?
yeah, there's a lot of and again, we're gonna
Because
get into that, right?
we're gonna talk about it now. We're gonna
We're
talk
gonna
about
talk
it
about
because
this, and
I know what I hear.
yeah, this and you might not be surprised then. This is obviously third hand. I haven't worked out there. I don't know these people, but this is I'm gonna like read texts off when I talk about this. But this gym, and again, so that we don't get sued, right? Not that necessarily Jocko would sue us for talking about his gym, but I want to make sure I preface like this is speculative. This is from rumors, right? Rumor mill that of
Yep.
people that have worked out there. I have no idea if this is true or not, but from Eric Deming and people there, the way this gym started had very sketchy financial investments in it. We'd just say that from potential. And Eric Deming, I put this in my episode yesterday, a year ago, was talking about, I forget his name. There's another a guy who was convicted on federal drug trafficking. That's the co-owner of the gym. Okay, so this is a completely different individual. This is the second individual who's been tied to either ownership or employment to this gym that's been convicted of federal drug trafficking. So,
Mm, mm.
it's one of those questions, Jake, is like, if there's smoke, is there fire? I don't know. It seems like, it's not that big of a gym.
I'm
Oh,
going to
it
say this,
says
Nate. I'm going to say this, Nate, and
it
I'm just
says
going to say it this way.
Jake, you're not live.
No, no,
Stand by one sec.
I got to be live. I'm live on mine.
That's
I'm
what everybody
watching
in the
me on my
chat
own channel.
says. Jake's not live. Jake doesn't look like you're live. Jake's live's not up.
I got 274 people in my live. It's working fine.
I've got 274 people in my live. Are you sure you don't have mine up?
Oh yeah, I got yours up. Oh yeah.
Did you go into studio and go live?
No, in the studio where?
You. This is probably why you could. Jake, you like I went live on. All right, stand by, guys.
No,
Dinosaur
no, no,
Tech.
no. We put everything into yours.
You still have to. No, we linked both of our accounts to Riverside. Then we each individually have to go to our own YouTube studios, click on your live, change it to public, change your settings, and then go live.
All right, hang on.
All right, guys, stand by for 2 minutes while we work through these quick technical
Oh, it
difficulties.
keeps
And we'll get
coming
Jake
up
back
on mine as okay. So I go to home. Hang on. Your video.
It's easier to do it from your computer if
Okay,
you got a
I got it.
laptop.
I got it. I got it.
Laptop YouTube Studio is way easier.
Oh my god.
You
So
just
we
go to
talk-
content, click live, and then the little button that says the view live and control room. Go in there, change your settings,
Hang on, let me get
and you'll
that.
have it.
Okay, live.
Boomer Tech. Yeah,
Good
guys.
God. Okay.
We're gonna get it here. It won't take very long.
All right. So I got it open.
Mm-hmm.
Go to details and then what?
No. Content,
Okay.
and then you see
hang
your.
on. It ain't going well. Okay, content.
Then click, and then up top it says channel content. Go to live.
Live.
Okay. Then you see your live.
Yep.
See all the little icons? You got details, analytics. Click on view live and control room.
Oh, view live in control room.
Okay. Now you see us and where it says edit. Right there on the right, right next to the title. Yep. And then you just change it to public and put in your regular settings, your monetization. Click save and you'll be live. As soon as you go from private to public, you'll be live. That's all you got to do is save that, and then you just change your settings in there that you want.
I'm changing monetization because I always miss all the money in the beginning.
All right, guys, we got it.
Thank you, guys. I saw all the comments coming in, and I was like, "Oh, how can I not be streaming if I can see the comments?"
We got it. Oh, yep. I just got a notification you went live. All right, we're good. We're officially, which means you probably didn't even go live last week, did you?
That's probably what happened. That's exactly what happened.
We couldn't figure it out why you weren't live. All right, we got it. Okay, so everybody says we're live now. All right, guys, we're good. Let's jump back to where we were. Okay, obviously we were talking. That's where that was going to be. Before we get into, we're just talking about the founding of this gym. We're going to get into the way this gym's been run based off of employees and people that work there here in a second.
Yep.
And again, speculation, rumors, right, guys? But Jake, where there's smoke, I got this comment a lot on the video. Where there's smoke, is there fire, right? Again, one is none, two is all of a sudden one, right? Where it's like, first time this happens, little sketch happens again. Ooh, I don't know. What do you think?
So here's what I'm going to tell you, and you know this as well as I do. Cats from our line of work know everything, okay? You don't have to tell me you sell drugs for me to know you sell drugs. You don't have to tell me that you like little kids. I know you like little kids because I know everything. Like my EQ is unlimited. And all of our EQs, I tell everybody, like you mess around with a special forces dude, they know what's going on. Like they know, they just do. And so from my perspective, knowing what I know in the background from some other people associated with the gym, not on this topic, but on how much control Jocko has over it,
right?
Ain't no way he didn't know. He didn't know.
That was going to be sort of the question of like, in business, right? Someone like Jocko, if he's got a bunch of businesses, you're a business owner, you got people managing your business, you stop in, once every month, maybe. Now, again, these are
Uh-uh.
hypotheticals, right? On the way some
Uh-uh.
businesses get run. That's different than a guy who's the owner, operator, lead trainer, there all the time, knows every single employee, knows their families. Like that for my in-person business. I know like not everything about the people that I work with, but I know your wife, I know your kids, like I know a lot about you. It's not just like I show up, who's working for me, what's going on at my gym, what's management doing? I don't know, but from what I was told the exact same thing as that, as you just got told, where this isn't just like a hands-off, no idea what's going on in this establishment.
Yep.
And then I want to say also, when we talk about like, did somebody know? Okay, well, the people I'm talking to that were members of the gym know in detail, and I have stories from what was going on at this dude's house through
Mm.
trafficking and cartels from members of the gym. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not the person employing this guy, people
Mm-hmm.
just coming in and training that know all this crazy stuff. So this wasn't like, um, this guy kept it in like super secret. Like if members of the gym know this shit is going on, to me, that kind of says it's also the guy's nickname, self proclaimed nickname in the court documents is the King of Coke of San Diego. You're going to tell me like there's no red flags? No red flags about the guy who nicknamed himself the King of Coke? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think with that one,
I, I,
Jake?
I'm I'm gonna say this. It's funny because some of my guys, obviously you got two coasts in the SEAL teams. You got the West Coast and the left coast and the right coast, right? And the guys on the right coast, there's about 3 Brazilian jiu-jitsu gyms in Virginia Beach that they go to, and they have different personalities. So I asked one of my dudes, "Hey man, you work out at Jocko's gym?" He said, "Hell no."
Mm,
And I was kind of like, "What?" He was like, "Environment is bad." I said, "The environment is bad." He's like, "Yeah." He said, "One, people getting hurt. Okay." He said it's super macho. And then he said the other thing is it's just bad. And when he said it was just bad, I read between the lines real quick. I said,
mm.
and that was 7 years ago, right? Like I was at
This is the same
Illinois
time
then.
frame. That's the same time frame of like all of this stuff supposedly being
Yeah,
at its height.
guys,
You know
guys,
what?
guys were
And
leaving. Guys were
it's
leaving.
interesting from one of the instructors there. I've got a message talking about basically the way this gym was run from that level, and we'll talk about when COVID happened. Okay, this is like a stuff happening during COVID into after COVID. I got this as said, I don't hate on Jocko. Been around him a long time, but from within the gym and being longtime friends and instructors, when COVID hit and he closed his gym, he just ghosted all of us. Wouldn't take calls or anything. Then reopened and called us all back like nothing happened. Made a lot of guys feel different about him. My best friend was a SEAL for 12 years under Jocko and told me the San Diego guys aren't very big fans of him. Obviously, that's much like what you're just saying. Same thing in the community. But interesting there of a lot of the rumors are like of this gym. And again, I don't know. I don't work there. I don't know what's true, but I'm getting a lot of the same stories from different people who are messaging
Yep.
me. And anytime like people who have no connection to each other are messaging me privately with stories and they all sort of match, kind of makes you go, ooh, what was really going on? Okay. And then
And
we'll
and
also
and
get into old Rudy or Ruby or whatever his name was and
and
what
Nate,
he was really doing at the gym here in a minute as well.
and I want to remind everybody, man. Listen. If you think you're too big to fall from grace, go check out your boy Lance Armstrong. Okay,
Oof, yeah.
$100 million in marketing gone in the course of 1 month. So, like for Jocko's brand, this is bad, man. Like this is bad. This is bad. This is bad.
So I agree, right? Whether you're connected to this, implicated in this, who knows? Probably not. Like I don't see Jocko as being some cartel drug ringleader trafficker.
No,
No, not at all.
no.
However, what it does mean is like you have people working for you in high level capacities that are literally like putting out hits with sicarios from cartel members on like and running huge amounts of drugs that are your employees. There is, and I'm going to say this because, again, I like Jocko. Like, I have nothing against Jocko. You guys have seen on my channel. I've defended Jocko against the initial Demings clams, which I'm starting to look maybe like I might have been a little bit wrong on all that. I talked to Eric yesterday, and I was like, it might be,
You got Eric
that was a
in your
year
face?
ago. And I talked to Eric on the phone yesterday. I was like, man, since you put that stuff out, Luttrell came out on the O'Neill podcast and admit the Navy wrote the book.
Yep.
Slabinski, Chapman, all that shit unfolded. I learned all that. Szymanski, I learned about that. Deming was talking about potential cartel investments in this gym and drug trafficking going on. All of a sudden, a dude from the gym gets arrested for exactly that. And so now I told Eric, I was like, fuck, man, you've been right. Everything I thought. And the thing for me was like, this is so crazy. There's no way this stuff could be true, right? That's the way I looked at it. And then now I'm like, oh shit, dude, Eric's been right about everything so far.
Let me say this. There is nothing you could tell me involving Navy SEALs that I would say is unbelievable. Okay? And I will highlight this one right here. A Master Chief in San Diego got caught with millions of rounds of ammunition, grenades, over 500 pounds of C4 caps, det cord, and explosives.
Oh my God.
RPGs, laws, rockets, and everything else that he was hiding or stashed in his boy's garage. And his wife got pissed off one day because she couldn't park in the garage for like the last, year because there was this big pile of stuff under a tarp. And she looked under a tarp, and it was Solomon Gomorrah's friends under there in the form of grenades, bullets, and bombs and explosives. Okay.
Oh my God.
So that happened 3 times when I was in the SEAL teams in 3 years. So
we had that. We had a guy caught with something very similar in group while I was there too. 240 Bravo machine guns in his closet.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Garage storage for ammo, grenades, and his wife and him were getting divorced. Or she caught him cheating or something, and she called the MPs. Told the MPs, my husband's stash and military weapons. They showed up. He's in Leavenworth now for probably the next 20 years.
Breaking rocks, brother. Breaking rocks.
Real quick, super chat from Grand Bear. I wish Deming would take you up on your offer. Hey, I told Eric again. I talked to Eric offline one-on-one quite a bit, guys. This isn't like I haven't. I talked to him personally about all the stuff. I just didn't feel like he had the evidence, the firsthand evidence to back up any of his claims, which he still hasn't shown me. However, his second and third hand claims have been proven sort of true along the lines by other people. So that's what I mean by he still hasn't provided me the direct evidence to show that, Jocko's a war criminal and Chris Kyle and all this stuff. However, my point is on a lot of the other things he's talked about, Slabinski, Luttrell, Szymanski, this drug stuff, like he was right. So that's all I'm saying is like when you start to build a track record of correct, and then I have to look at these last 3 things you've said and go, well, I don't have evidence for that. But at the same time, this dude's been 100%. Now, all of a sudden, the things that didn't sound to me, didn't like the Ramadi stuff, sounded like ridiculous to me. Now, all of a sudden, I go, oh, fuck. Right? Like, I don't know, but the track record's starting to look pretty bad. Okay. I want to also want to talk about this employee, okay, and more stuff at the gym, all right, and what was going on this is why I want to preface this of, do you know what your employees are doing, okay? So this is also from someone at the gym, said, hold on one sec.
Jocko's working out at the gym. This is Jocko's gym, correct? The one he works out at all the time?
And he owns it, and trains it. And again, there's pictures of him with his employee all over the internet, hugging and training together. You can't really move yourself off that. But what they're saying about Ruben Silva, guys, is that right? I believe it is.
Yeah.
So about him, because he works sales, he sold memberships and things like that, right? He said the guy was scamming new students all the time at the gym for years, pressing them for deals, and trying to get them to make cash payments and always pushing them for extra sign-up fees. I always wondered how they let him continue that way. And then, same guy talking about this, said, I've firsthand seen some of his operations unfortunately, before I knew what he was about. Essentially, he had a house with a garage with a large safe, and someone would allow him to put safes in their garage. Cartels would come in and out of the garage, offload bricks, and then leave, and then more people would come to pick them up. All the while, Rudy was 100% raking in the money. As soon as I saw the thumbnail for your episodes, before I realized what was gone, I knew it was freaking Rudy. So this dude,
I got one.
this dude was running, I guess, huge amounts of trafficking out of his house, right? And again, this is people that are like working out at the gym that know this stuff about this guy. That's
All right,
yikes.
Nate, so I got a San Diego one for you. So I got a friend. I'm not gonna call him a friend, acquaintance that I know that is in and out of the right way of life and the wrong way of life. Right? Let's just put it that way. He's in and out of both sides.
Yeah.
So when he was a young officer in San Diego, I talking to my boy, and my boy's like, "Yo, I went and visited Zach. He back in that shit." I said, "Oh man, I just said his name. Oh man, I suck." Okay, anyway, so I said, "Yeah." I said, "What you got?" He said, "Man, he's renting his house out to the Yakuza, and they have Japanese prostitutes in there, and these business guys. He's running like a brothel."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they pay him $15,000 a month to use his house? And he was like, I don't know. But I'm like, like, like if you're associated with somebody, because this ain't the first time, right? Like, no one just opens up a grand cartel cocaine slinging deal in San Diego on their first go around, right? Like, same thing with my boy, right? Like, this wasn't his first go around. We knew he was into some dirt, you know.
This is also, again, guys, rumors, speculation. I can't confirm or deny any of this, but this is from people that are, again, a part of this gym in different capacities, whether it be they work out there, they've worked there. Talked about that, where what they potentially thought was going on is you have this initial money investment come in from, again, one of the co-owners. Eric Deming provided the records for this. It's on Jay's episode in the YouTube description. So this is like a dude who was convicted on federal drug trafficking crimes. Forget his name. Somebody in the chat will probably know. As that investment money comes in, a lot of people think like, hey, somebody like Rudy gets instilled sort of as an employee position to like basically keep an eye on what's going on in the gym as part of like the cartel network. Which kind of makes sense, right? Like if the cartel invests a shit ton of money, lets you open your gym, they might say, hey, this guy, who obviously is one of their traffickers, he's going to work here, right? So again, I have no idea, complete rumors and speculation. But again, you got multiple people involved that have been, criminally, federally convicted of drug trafficking and cartel involvement. So I don't know, man. Allegedly. Let me say that 10 times, right? We don't really know. But, like, again, it doesn't look good on the surface, right? Like, how do you, and here's what I was going to ask. I wanted to ask you, Jake, because Jocko's entire message, what's his number one sort of message? Extreme ownership. Right? Like, he lectures, and I agree with that, right? I agree with the message. I think Jocko's got a great message. I think he's a really positive force. Like, I don't have anything against him, but are we going to see extreme ownership? Because this is the moment for extreme ownership. Okay? You're a business owner, right? Your employee gets convicted for 20 years for extremely violent crimes as well as cartel connections. Do you have extreme ownership, or do you sit silently? What do you think is going to happen?
So I'm going to tell you exactly what my thought would be. That gym would have been closed 7 days ago. All signage would have been taken down, and it would have been shuttered. Because he ain't making that much money on that gym. Even if he's making $1 million a year, he would be killing it at that gym.
Oh, I doubt it. Gyms don't make that much money, I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Because he's making millions of dollars off of everything else. And a little $500,000 a year gym could suck him down a toilet drain. With the right little nick of an artery, he could bleed out in 2 months and lose all of his, all his credibility. So, I mean, if I was him, I would just shutter the gym, take it down. There would be no more gym, try to scrub everything I could from
Well,
it.
and doing it in a way of like, look, whatever reason you want, hey, I should have had better optics on this. This is my fault. And guess what? We're not going to allow this type of shit to go on. This gym's closed.
Yep.
XYZ. And that's you're right. That's a pretty simple way of like, X that, like get rid of that parasite right out the gate. But I think if you, go ahead.
Unless your boys from south of the border have a hand in it.
And
they tell him no such thing. No bueno, senor.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's I didn't think about that. Real quick, super chat from BA0701. You got to get a real username, brother. Thoughts on a general putting his hands on troops? Should he be held accountable? Marine Lieutenant Colonel, retired on Sentinel Channel, just did a video about it. Putting their hands on troops. When did a general put their hands on troops? Are you tracking that
Patton
story?
slapped the shit out of some people. I ain't got a problem with that. We won the war.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like it's one of those hard things. Like military, that used to be normal, right? Basic training used to get the shit kicked out of you if you were being a dipshit. I think we kind of are missing that in society. The fact that you are protected from getting fucking punched in the face in most regards through the legal system when you're acting like a shithead, I think allows for a lot of negative shit. The internet is a great example of that, right? Like my comment section, you have like 99.9% of people that will say things to me that would never have the fucking guts to say that to me in real life, but they can over the internet. You know how that is for you too.
Yep.
So I don't know. That's a tough one, right? A general putting his hands on troops in what capacity? What's it mean? What was the context?
I got punched in the face. I got punched in the face by an 06. I was a lieutenant. Now it wasn't a full blown stroke, but he punched me in the face.
Yeah.
And I was 100%.
Sometimes you deserve it, though. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Sometimes in the military you deserve it, man.
I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, and too, right?
And he came up to me afterwards and was like, look, man, like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm like, look, sir, I was out of line. I fucking appreciate it. Like, I appreciate you punching me in the face. I was being a bitch. Okay. I was letting a warrant control my happiness. I said, don't worry about it, bro. Like, I took that punch. You have nothing to worry about. I ain't like, it was fucking 100% my fault. Cause I punched people in that situation. I punched a dude in the IAD, immediate action drill. I told him to get up. He was the last man in the line. He was on the 60. You know how the motherfuckers on the 60 get transfixed sometimes. I'm good. He looked up at me. I'm good. Shout. He jumped up with the 60 and let start. Like, I mean, we all done it, right? Like, sometimes that shit calls for some amped up reaction to some bullshit, right? Like,
yep. Yeah, in the military too, right? When we're talking about like when mistakes can potentially cause the death of me and everyone around me, sometimes that type of remedial action is what has to happen immediately. Sometimes I have to grab you by the collar of your shirt and fucking scream at you, right? Because if not, like something is going to potentially kill us, right? So that's where I think it's hard for me to be. And also it's just like the way I look at like we're human beings, right? It wasn't that long ago that we were like hiding in caves running from saber-toothed tigers and shit. And the fact the fact everybody's so coddled now and like nobody can get hurt and your feelings can't get hurt. Like that's not what human beings evolve to be. It's not natural, right? Now I think there's limits to that, right? You don't want to be full-blown chimpanzees, but sometimes a slap in the face is what a grown man needs, to be honest, to like get his shit back together from what I've seen.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this. I got slapped. John Zen, shout out to John Zen, R.I.P. man, my dude, Jackie and the family, Matt and the crew. Hey, so I don't know, 2 mile swim, last 2 mile swim of third phase. I pass, I'm good. If I fail, I'm rolled or I'm out. And about 300 yards from the finish line, I started crying and shit. I've been swimming as hard as I could for like 70 minutes. And John Zen just leaned over and punched me right in my mask. We don't have time for this shit.
Yeah.
Swim. I'm like,
yeah.
And then we passed by 20 seconds, So
yeah,
like,
yeah. You got that adrenaline kick up.
Yeah, bro. Like he stroked me. I got some gas, and then we was finishing. There was four of us that passed that day. So my swim pair and the swimmer's swim pair passed. Everybody else failed. So
That's awesome. All right, real
they was
quick.
yeah.
Super chat. How many SF? So 1 second. No, I can't get up to it. How many SF will go off the reservation? I'm
Hmm.
not sure. I'm not
Hmm.
sure what you mean. I'm assuming
So
like going off the
he
reservation as like losing
choosing
their
crime.
shit,
Choosing
choosing
crime. Now he's just
crime.
talking about choosing crime. So I got a good story. I've told it a couple times in the near future, I guess the past. So I got a pack of pictures from one of my good friends in the SEAL teams. He was digging through an old box out with his gear. He found a package of pictures from SQT. So we're talking about 1999, early 99, spring of 99. Found 20 pictures that I'm in. It was pretty awesome. So I got all the pictures, and there was one of my buddies was in there, and I hadn't heard nothing from him in a long time. So I got everybody. I knew everybody in the pictures, so I started sending the pictures out to everybody that was in the pictures, right, on text message. So I got to my dude, and I called him. I said, "Hey man, how you been? We caught up. He in some trouble himself, but it was stupid trouble." And I was like, "Hey, what happened to so and so?" He said, "Man, you didn't hear?" I said, "Nah." Well, he did a deployment. He went over to Iraq, got it in, or Afghanistan, got it in on the first, 2002. He came back. He got popped for coke. I
Hmm.
said, "What?" Yeah, he got popped for coke. They put him out. Then he went to work for a bookie. And
Yeah.
I said, "He went to work for a bookie?" He's like, "Yeah, man, right here in Norfolk. He got killed downtown trying to collect some money from a dude. Dude pulled out a gun and killed him."
Wow.
And I was like, "Damn." So those, in my opinion, like if I had to put a percentage on it, out
So
of
I've got
100 people, I would at least say five, maybe 10%.
I've talked, and this isn't from me. This was from one of my teammates. We talked about the same type of thing before. Why more? Like, and this from especially from the Green Beret. We're talking about from the Green Beret perspective of like the government spends millions of dollars training us on how to overthrow governments, and then
Mm-hmm.
they release us back into the civilian population. You think about that, and you're like, that actually seems super dangerous for a nation to be doing something like that, right? But what he said is like, and this made total sense. And when we talk about why so many guys don't turn to this type of crime, especially guys that do full careers, get out, 100% VA, retirement, the military is very good at placating us and saying, I'm going to give you so much in benefits once you get out, like, right, that you don't want to screw that up. You don't want to, push the button a little bit too hard, right? Because I don't know, I kind of got a good life, right? Like I got a great pension. Do I really want to screw something like this up? Because you go to prison, homie, that pension goes bye-bye, right?
Bye
So
bye.
there's a lot of sort of theory in that the Department of Defense has figured out how to um, not let its combat veterans overthrow the government by, again, we like talk about the VA, how shitty it is and this, but like you really think about guys that are in a long time and have all those benefits, it's a lot. There's a lot of
And
benefits. There's a lot to lose if you decide to go down the route of crime
and
once you're out.
I'm gonna give you the other one. So in 1998, Rand did a study on special forces, mainly the SEALs, and it was determined that the closest societal match to Navy SEALs was death row inmates. So high
Oh
long-term
yeah.
career criminals, and the only factor was a 20 to 30% morality.
Hmm.
That was the only difference. Like they had the SEALs and the Special Forces dudes had 20 to 30% more morality, but everything else was exactly the same. And the
Yeah.
morality was not high; it was down at the bottom. Like
Right.
they, like the
Yeah.
convicts and those guys are down there at 0 to 10% morality, and then the next tier is the Special Forces dudes at 10% to like
Yep.
30%. So, all right, I got to
That
hit a super.
actually.
Go
Yep.
ahead.
You're good. Nope. You're good.
Super chat. Service USA LLC $5, man. Appreciate it. I'm just telling you, Nate's over there collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars on his super chat. We need some help on our super chat. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think so, but I appreciate it.
All right, you want to transition into this other one?
Yeah, okay. So what we're going to talk about next, guys, is a topic that never goes away, but in the media cycle because of the cartels, the border, Ukraine, we've sort of forgotten about it. But if you haven't noticed, we've been reminded of that based off of what's going on in Syria. Okay, so Christians essentially are just being slaughtered yet again by the new controlling power in Syria. And what I can do, Jake, is I can sort of give everybody a little bit of a background in Syria and how we got here, who's in charge, why this is happening. So it'll be a 30,000 foot view, but so we can sort of understand that.
Yep.
If we want to do
Yep.
that first.
Yeah, yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead.
So as you can see, uh, you have Hayat Tahrir al-Assad or al-Sham, excuse me, the moderate Islamic group that took over Syria, okay? And I put huge quotations around that because they're essentially just Al-Qaeda and ISIS reformed that basically overthrew Assad. How did that happen? Kind of timing and placement, okay? So you have to understand Assad being an Alawite, sort of Shia connected, which is why he's connected to Iran, different Hezbollah-backed groups, Russia, okay? Then you have all of the Syrian resistance fighter groups who, of course, America was funding and giving weapons to because we know how well giving weapons to Sunni rebel fighters goes, aka Al Qaeda, ISIS, everyone else. Anyway, that's what was going on. When Israel starts to sort of push forward and fight Hezbollah up to the north, up into Syria, okay? Iran is predisposed dealing with Israel. This is a couple months ago. Russia, the biggest sort of ally to Assad, what are they dealing with? War with Ukraine. Nobody can support Assad anymore. Turkey, okay, who sort of backs the Sunni side of things and doesn't, basically, they want huge white space in between them and Iran, backs this big push, and the Sunni religious fighters take over and overthrow Assad. He bails, okay? Of course, as every time this happens in the Muslim world, in any country, everyone's excited that the new liberation and like release the prisons and everything's going to be great, okay? Until you realize again that the group that took power is basically just ISIS and Al Qaeda with a new name. And now they're starting the beheadings and the torture, and it's all coming back. Okay. Also, in Somalia, if you guys saw a few weeks ago, we had the big strikes targeting ISIS leadership in Somalia. A lot of people don't understand why the hell are we, how is ISIS in Somalia? ISIS is now sort of strongholded through the northern horn of Africa. Terrorism has not disappeared, guys. It's
Nope.
literally as crazy as it has been. It's just that the media news cycle hasn't shoved it in front of your face for a while. And now this crazy footage coming out of Syria is sort of a reminder to us of like, oh, we just instilled another Sunni extremist group into power. And where'd they get all their weapons and money from? Shocker. So that's what we're about
Right.
to start dealing with again, right? So this hasn't
So
gone away.
so I
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
this is important to understand. So when we did all that, we were hitting that terrorism stuff. You know, the lady was talking about everybody coming across the border on the Sean
Right.
Ryan show, Sarah. That was
Yep.
about 2 months ago. We were hitting all that. I did a bunch of research, and one of the things that I thought was very interesting: who's running Al Qaeda right now? Who's running it?
Who's running Al Qaeda?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know who's
your boy
in
Osama bin Laden's son. Okay,
he really?
he is running Al Qaeda right now slash
Okay.
ISIS, and so they have partnered with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a weird
so
amalgamation right now with a bunch of
weird
different
weird
groups.
amalgamation that they have partnered, but his whole thing is, so his father's whole thing is, this is going to be a slow roll. We're in a generational war so we can bring back the caliphate, right? Okay, well now his son is like, fuck that, I'm doing it in in my lifetime, I'm going to see
Mm,
the caliphate. And so everything is accelerated. Like he has started accelerating stuff. Like they've taken over the north of Africa, right? Like
yep.
I was just reading today, Somalia has ISIS centers in it. There's 9 of them across the top of Africa right now. And
Yeah, in the
and
north, in the north, kind of like the northeastern portion of Somalia, they pretty much have
yes.
complete control of that right now.
Yes. And so now you're looking at what dogs are we letting lie, right? Like They are over there growing strong. They are happy Ukraine is going on, right? They're happy that, we got this border
Oh,
issue
yeah.
going on. But I'm going to say this. Your boy Trump ain't going to let this fly too long, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's not going to.
I was thinking about that. Well, I was sitting about that while I was thinking about the episode for today. I was like, thinking about the next episode I'm going to do, and it's like the next major war. And this is let me preface this because I love when my buddies. I got a former team leader who's in Delta now, has been for a few years. He was in Iraq for about a year, 2023-ish. So this was after the fall of Afghanistan and everything. He came back and we were talking, and I was like, and they weren't doing anything, but like operationally, really. But I asked him, I was like, how'd it go? How are things over there? Like, what's it look like? And he was like, we will be back at war in the Middle East within 5 years, 100% chance. That was his first response, based off of, and this is not a random guy, right? I gave you his background. Yeah.
Not some uneducated war dude.
Right. This is a guy
that
that's
knows what he's talking about.
In the most know of probably fucking anybody. He didn't give me any details, right? Because that's just how professionalism and that type of stuff works. But it was a staunch, like 100%, we will be back at war, Iraq, Afghanistan area, Syria, whatever it looks like, within 5 years because of what you just talked about. It's not just that. Look at Afghanistan, right? Like the Taliban, we forget about them. Like Al-Qaeda, like how did 9/11? Well, we can get into all the conspiracies of 9/11, but the official story, right? How does 9/11 happen? Al-Qaeda moves into Afghanistan, starts planning terrorist attacks. Do you think that might not be possible again, guys? Considering what Afghanistan and Syria and all these places look like? It's scary.
The question is, Nate, this is the question I have. So Sarah talked about this, 1,500 man assault force that's in America that's going to execute this terrorist raid, right? The thing that I have been thinking about lately, so since Trump got elected, all that shit died. All of it died, right? And I think, like, if you're ISIS right now, do you really want to roll that out right now, right? Or do you want to wait a couple years and say, you know what? Let's see what happens next year. I feel like if we roll this out right now, this crazy ass president that they got over there may roll over atomic bombs. You know what I'm saying? He may start dropping like, oh, you know what? Just flatten glass Afghanistan. We're done. Just glass it, right?
And I think we're seeing that too with, I don't think very many people foresaw this. I think we're seeing that with the cartels, especially the Sinaloa cartel. We expected this like big pushback and violence to start breaking out, and it's kind of looking like the Sinaloa cartel's like, nah, we'll just wait 3.5 years.
Yep.
We're good. Because, again, we know your guys are this far in front of your face, and when Kamala Harris an AOC ticket wins in 2028 and the border opens right back up, why would we have, put ourselves in a position to get ourselves slaughtered if you're the Sinaloa cartel, if you're the Jalisco cartel? You start to think about it and you're like, oh, maybe that's what this is going to look like. Same with these terrorist groups in the Middle East. Like, do we really want to start causing mass chaos and like do another 9/11? Did that work out that well for us last time? No, we'll just wait.
And I'm going to say this because a lot of people don't want to hear this noise. We are stopping so many terrorist attacks in the country that this is the exact way it was put to me. Jake, if you knew what we stopped on a daily basis, you would pack up your family and you would leave the country today. You wouldn't even wait until tomorrow. That. And I was like, what? He was like, listen. And this is a guy, like you're saying, you got a guy, I got a bunch of, look, you go to Naval Academy, you got a bunch of classmates that are everywhere in the world. In every sector of America, I got a classmate. And this is one of the classmates I talked to, and it was like, we were having a beer in his backyard, and he was just like, I asked him, I knew where he worked. I said, hey, man, he's like, bruh, he's like, if you knew what we stopped on a daily basis, you would pick your family up and leave immediately. And ever since I heard that like 2004, and you just like, we're doing a good job, man. As much as we want to hate on the FBI and the CIA and all that stuff, we're doing a great job protecting the motherland. right? And
Well,
so,
those organizations, I look at them, they get so much shit, and rightfully so at the top. But like, you look at the Department of Defense at the top with Milley and Austin and all these pieces of shit, right? But was the military still doing really good things operationally during that time? Of course, right? Was SF still doing humanitarian shit all over the world in Haiti after earthquakes and stuff? Of course. So, same thing at the FBI, federal marshals. I've got buddies over there, federal marshal SAW group guys that are doing stuff exactly like that right now. At those operational and tactical tiers, yeah, there's guys doing awesome stuff that are detached away from, Comey at the top of the FBI doing shit with the Clintons. Like, that's at the bureaucratic level that, like, is so far above and beyond.
yeah.
Not to say that it's not, like, doesn't need to get fixed, which I 100% agree with that, but that doesn't mean that, like you said, the FBI, Border Patrol, all these groups, like, aren't actually doing a ton of work, because they 100% are.
Ton. Hey, I got shout out to my man Jim. Shout out, dog. Law Dog shot me $20. He got a great video. He got shot in the neck. His wife drowned him. That's just how it goes, bro. That's how it goes. Uh, and then 214 Golden Dragons. Salute to you, Jake. Thank you, brother. Appreciate the $20, man. I ain't seen no questions on my stuff. I just think when you start looking at the terrorism in the United States, I think everybody right now is, one of the things that I heard from so I got a couple Mr. Miyagi cats that I call for information, right? And I got two of them. One is my dude Dan Brown, who's a SEAL, who ended up going over there as a cultural awareness dude for like 20 years over there. And then my other one is this other guy I got, and I went to business school with him, but he's a staunch, like, African dude, right? Like, he loves Africa, big kind of Renaissance dude. So I called him 2 weeks ago to ask him about something else, and we had a conversation about it. And some of the things that he was saying just about the world opinions of the United States, like, we think over here that everybody loves us, but he kept coming back to the whole world, because I was talking about going to do business in Africa, and he was like, look, man, everybody is terrified of Trump. And I said, really? And they're like, yes, because he's out of his mind, and he does not do stuff normally. And they're like, normally there's some projection, what's going to happen, we can see stuff coming. He said, man, Africa is up in arms right now. China's got a big foothold in Africa, and he was like, look, man, like, the whole world is terrified of Trump. Terrified. And when he said it that way, I was like, And now you're seeing what's happening in Europe, right? Europe is in the biggest panic it's probably been in since World War II. Trump basically told them, either you pay the money or we're fucking out, which I totally agree with, right? Like, like, you fuckers have been living on our shit. Okay, this is crazy. The United States government provides 6% of the European EU, what do you call it? What's the gross domestic product? 6% is money from us to them.
That's so
and
crazy.
The basis, or almost, I was just like, man, but that's,
just hand it over, right? And like USAID.
Not USAID, just
is it economy
the military
based?
bases, the resources, funding, all of the stuff. But we're 6% of their GDP, and it should be the other way around. You're paying us to keep them from coming to you. Like, I love what he's doing in Russia. I love it. Hey, Russia, go ahead, man. Have at it. EU, you don't want to pay the bill? Hey, man, go ahead. You want Russia? You want France? Because here's the deal. Russia has never been one of the aggressors, right? Even in the Cold War, we made it.
You're gonna trigger the Ukraine grifters, dude.
You're
gonna trigger them.
This is what I'm saying. Let's not forget, the Cold War was started so that we could grow the national deficit and make more military shit on the space race, okay? But if you think about World War II, Russia's fighting Germany the same way we're fighting Germany. We weren't fighting Russia in the war. Like we really haven't ever. Russia wasn't trying to conquer Europe. They were just trying to keep Germany from conquering Russia. But see, all
Yeah.
this stuff has gotten. It's all got mixed up. Like the big Russian bear, right? Like Russia just want to be
So
left
you know where
alone.
that? Do you know where that comes from? Because my dad's generation, right? For the longest time, I would talk to my dad, and he would automatically be Russia as the, you know, big bad of the world, right? All of his generation feels that way. It's Cold War, man. That
That's
cold,
all it
like
is.
it's the, and you think about it, like our parents' generation, they grew up with the fear of like nuclear bombs being dropped on them by Russia at any point in time, right? Have you seen the duck and cover videos from
Hmm.
elementary
Oh
school?
yeah,
Little kids
absolutely,
having to learn about
absolutely.
how like not get blown away by nukes. So you grow up with that sort of programming into your brain your entire life. Soviet Union falls, you know, Russia isn't necessarily, you know, like the most constitutional democratic republic ever under Putin. However, that thinking is not going to go away. Russia's always, like you said, the big bad bear to a lot of people. Whereas now you have our generation sort of coming up that's looking at it and not looking at it from like I didn't grow up with that brainwashing. I didn't grow up with Russia being the big scary bad guy. I grew up with Islam being the big scary bad guy. That's my generation. That's what we were programmed with after 9/11, right? So it's the same type of thing. But now we can look at it and I can go, I can look at the Ukraine Russia conflict and go, okay, is Ukraine the ultimate good guy and Russia the ultimate bad guy? Well, if I look at it historically, what's America's involvement? What was going on in 2014 when America overthrew the pro-Russian leader of Ukraine and installed our own little puppet, right? And then we pushed basically weaponry all the way to the border of Ukraine, a couple hundred miles away from Moscow, right? You
Yep.
look at those things and you go, now I don't agree that like with Russia necessarily their choice to invade, whatever. But I can say if America, right, if Russia were to have put a bunch of weapons on the Canadian border and kept all the way down to the border, basically, and were threatening to our sovereignty in a way, do you think we wouldn't have invaded Canada and pushed them off? Of course we would have. We would have done the exact same thing, right? So this is why I'm a big proponent of like I don't give a shit about either of these sides. I don't care about Ukraine. I don't care about Russia in the fucking war because I don't think we need to have millions of European men being slaughtered. And you want to call me a Russian sympathizer or whatever because I don't want to see millions of people getting slaughtered. Okay, right? But
I
like
mean,
that's
it
my
just makes
position on it. Like
it
I
just
don't think
makes
we need to have
sense
a
though.
fucking a massive near peer war in Europe going on in
We're at
2025.
we're at 3 million people now. Nate, 3 million people have died in this war, and for what? For what? What do we? What does
Right.
Russia want? Russia just wants Ukraine not to be in NATO. That's all they really want. They want to push back the buffer, like you're saying. They want right some semblance that they don't have to worry about some stuff.
And
Okay.
let me caveat this because the most people I see cheering this shit on are people who never served and never fought fucking wars. Okay. Veterans, especially from our era, understand what fucking war looks like. We understand all of our buddies, dead buddies, whose kids don't have dads. Like we've seen, like guys missing limbs. We know the price that war gets, the toll you got to pay. So it's very easy when you're someone who lives in the comfort of America to cheer on you cheer Ukraine, Slava Ukraine, go, go, keep fighting till the end. It's like, yeah, but when you know what's actually going on in those fucking trenches, you're a lot more likely to not want it to end, right? That's my thing. Real quick, super chats. I'm ranting a little bit, falling behind. Tactical Possum. What are some tactics the cartel might adopt to fight surveillance from the U.S. based on your experience with what you saw in Afghanistan? So what I'll tell you is this: surveillance is very, very good in nations where it's established, right? So China, okay, go to Dubai, even in America, New York City. Like you're not giving away with fucking anything. Look at the Luigi Mangione case. Like they had a picture of his face everywhere he went in that whole city after that happened. However, on the Mexican side of things, what's the surveillance state of Mexico? Because we don't have all of these cameras set up. What we rely on in Afghanistan and different places, Mexico, primarily is human intelligence. That's how we really, now we have SIGINT and all these different things that help us, but like human intelligence is the ultimate when it comes to access and placement, figuring out who's in charge, where are these syndicate hideouts at. It's going to be very difficult for America to figure that out. So what are tactics they're going to use? I don't know. I mean,
The
not
biggest the biggest
loose
tactic
lips
they're going
sinking ships. Like that's the biggest one that they are going to have to deal with.
I'm
What's
gonna
your
say
thought?
I'm gonna say this because they're all Israeli and kind of that area, right, Middle Eastern trained. The first thing they're gonna do is dump all technology. So they're gonna get rid
Yeah.
of cell phones, internet, all of the things that can be sniffed upon. They're getting rid of, right? And they're gonna
Yep.
be, I wouldn't be surprised. Now I know listening to Pierre, having talked to him kind of on the backside, they're dug in like ticks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they going underground. They're trying to limit their above ground footprint. They're not leaving their haciendas. One of the things I haven't figured out, like I just feel like, man, I could run a cartel from Argentina, right? Like I could run a cartel from the
I
mountains
mean,
of Chile.
The Taliban did it from Pakistan the entire war.
Absolutely, but they don't really think like they know they're protected in Mexico, so they've dug in. But like if
Yeah.
you ask me, surveillance wise, like we know where they're at. We know everything. You know what I'm saying? Do we have the kind of granular detail? I got a good buddy that says my job is to find the needle in a pile of needles. And
Yeah.
so I think one of the things that sets the cartels apart is they live so lavishly that it's hard for them to disappear.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. That's a little bit different than it was in the Middle East, right? In the Taliban, pretty easy for the Taliban leadership to disappear. Caves, villages, Pakistan, Iran. But you're right. When you've got a $40 million mansion in Mexico, and it starts to be like, how's this guy afford this? We
yeah,
don't know. Well, you know, that's an interesting
you're
question.
traveling. Just think about this: you're traveling in 20 car, caravans with up
Right,
armored
right,
minigun SUVs, or you
yep,
got, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how they're traveling. They're traveling in MRAPs,
right.
So like you're
That's so
like,
crazy.
yeah, like you're like, oh man, here they come. Like we're watching them on camera.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
hey,
point.
I got
Yeah,
a
go ahead. I got one
super
after once
chat.
you're done.
Turbulent inflation 46. African Bush War equals Ukraine. Okay, I give you that.
Oh, I mean, a little bit different technology being used
Yeah, you got a
on
bunch of
that.
dudes with AK-47s with duct tape and a piece of wood to them,
Yeah,
and they're effective, but it's just different. No one's giving them $200 billion worth of U.S. aid, like weapons and
which is
HIMARS.
it's so interesting to me. It's like and this is the argument I always make too of like we know how many wars and conflicts are going on around the world at any given time. How come Ukraine is the country that we're most concerned about that needs all of our love and funding? Like Africa, do you know what's going on in Africa? All over the fucking continent? Shit show. Conflicts, genocide, or Yemen, Syria. Like I could just literally sit here and list places where the same type of thing. Foreign invaders are invading a sovereign nation. Yeah, there's about 40 other fucking places in the world right now where that's going on. America doesn't give a shit about. So that's then you got to ask like, okay, a place like Nigeria, right? That kind of would make sense if we got involved because we're going to just rip all the natural resources out of it. Like what is going on in Ukraine? What's the back pay of Ukraine? We're talking about rare earth and this, but what's been the back pay of this $250 billion for America? You and I don't see it, but I can tell you, somebody like Orlando Bloom goes and and Sean Penn goes and meets with Zelensky and gets paid $6 million fucking dollars out of U.S. aid to go do it. There's a lot of that going on, right?
Yeah,
So
lot of
incentives.
gerrymandering, a lot of
Yeah.
gerrymandering going on by the government.
Real quick, super chat from Mike Sweeney, $10. Thank you, brother. A Jocko fanboy here. Uh-oh.
Let's see what
Thanks
Jocko
for
fanboy got.
thanks for being fair in your reporting on this latest situation and your previous ones as well. Yeah, man, I don't have anything. It's crazy to me. Like I don't have anything against any of these people. I don't have anything against Jocko. But here's the thing: me and Jake are special operators. We have YouTube channels. We talk about special operations related content. So I see people get so mad, like As soon as I do a video talking about a employee of Jocko's gym being convicted of drug trafficking and cartel related violence crimes, and it's immediately, you're attacking other veterans. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm attacking other veterans. This is a news story. Do you guys not think that that's an interesting story? That a famous Navy SEAL has an employee who's been convicted for 20 years for drug trafficking and cartel assassination attempts? Yes, that's newsworthy. Yes, that's going to get talked about. Yes, I'm going to try to do it in a fair way, but it's still interesting. If it was anybody else, right, in any other sector, people would be talking about that type of thing, right? So I try to be like fair and unbiased about it. Like, again, I'm not out to get anybody, but here's the other thing. Like, I'm gonna fucking talk about it. If Jake all of a sudden got arrested for fucking some crazy ass cartel related crimes, you think I would not make a YouTube video on it? And he's one of my good friends. Of course I would, man. If I did, right? If I were to get arrested for a bunch of fucking domestic violence or whatever the fuck ever, do you think you think he's gonna sit silently? No, he's gonna say my fucking boy fucked up, or I get caught for stolen valor or fucking whatever. Yes, we're gonna keep each other accountable, man. So like,
Yeah.
anyway,
Like,
that's my rant. It's like people get so upset about like, you can't talk about this. I can talk about whatever the fuck I want, homie. Welcome to America.
And I have like my channel, like I tell everybody, man, we build champions for life. We over here helping the next generation of war fighters. And I try to keep it on that, but I also understand the ability to grow the channel dictates how many people are watching my videos. So every now and then I come off, I bang a video, like I interview Pierre on kind of the VA's impact on convicts and stuff like that. But like, I'm doing the same thing. I'm keeping my stuff more centered towards helping young people train and get ready. And, like I have an awesome person over in UAE I'm helping get into the service academies. Had an hour-and-a-half conversation with her on Saturday night. I wish I could have recorded it, but we can't. And it's fire. So, I'm a little bit different in that I'm not chasing shit. Like, I'm not chasing the news cycle. I did a cartel video. And then I got to talk to Pierre, but I'm like, I'm not doing a bunch of cartel shit because I don't want them dudes coming to visit me. And I really don't give a shit, right? I don't do no drugs. My kids don't do no drugs. Like, I'm kind of like, fuck whatever. It's just another one of those things in America that the CIA is running, according to everybody else.
Yeah, I know. As soon as we started talking about that, I had a bunch of CIA messages in the chat. Real quick, super chat. Jeremy DeShazer, $20 with no message. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it when you guys do that, though. And I think, is that it? I'm trying to catch up.
I got one question, Nate, we got to answer. Okay, E Sigma, bring on Joshua Thompson, retired 75th Intel. Hey, go get him. Send me an email, jake.zweig@gmail. Send me an email, Enigma. All right, Henry Moore, $10. $10. Keep up the good work, fellas. Do you, USA, CIA, think training Mexican army will become like when we trained bin Laden and bite us in the butt 30 years from now? You know better than I do. Like, we've been training these dudes. This ain't no.
So I mean, like training bin Laden. Okay, like we didn't train the Taliban bin Laden. We trained the Mujahideen, right, and equipped them to fight the Russians, which then ipso facto eventually becomes Taliban, who get sort of impostered by Al-Qaeda, right? But I mean, we've done this all over the place. Here's the problem. Like, it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay. So think about the Syria situation. We were backing the Sunni Syrian rebels. We know that never goes well, but who are we trying to oppose? Assad, who's closely tied to Russia, who's also our big bad enemy necessarily. Okay. So unfortunately, when it comes to doing this type of stuff in unconventional and irregular warfare, sometimes, yes, you are using a force that may also be pretty bad to accomplish your strategic goals. The problem with that is once you remove them, like we saw in Iraq, okay, is we remove Saddam. And now what happens? Okay, now an entire demographic of young military-age males is disenfranchised, and they become ISIS, which then we have to deal with on the back end. Okay, so it's kind of like whack-a-mole a little bit when you talk about irregular warfare. It's like, okay, we got this one. Well, that splintered off into this one. Think about it also with the cartels. Okay, we cut the head off of El Chapo. What happens? All right, now 5 other cartel leaders are vying for power. Everything gets super violent. It gets just as bad or worse. It's one of those things of the problem with irregular warfare is you can never really, you don't, I mean, it's such a 4D chess thing, right? Like where is this going to turn out? Who are we going to align ourselves with? Are they going to be a bigger problem than who we're removing? You know, I mean, Gaddafi was another one, right? We removed Gaddafi, and then Libya became an absolute shit show for, well, it still is. Okay, so we're not we're not great at it. I mean, we're very good at the first part, which is using irregular warfare to overthrow your government. We are incredibly good at that. But what we're not great at is figuring out how to nation build on the backside. We sort of haven't. I don't think we. I'm not sure we've nailed that yet. But you know, we keep trying. We're gonna get it eventually. Real quick, couple super chats. The Dashing Rogue, $5. The Russians want war. Read The Foundation of Geopolitics. That explains the whole Russian plan for the last 20 years. Okay, yeah, maybe. So does America. You're going to say America doesn't want war? America wants war more than fucking anybody on the planet. That doesn't really mean much to me.
I don't think anybody really wants our smoke, right? They don't want that fire. Like Russia thought they had some shit, and now it's very evident they're pulling tanks out from World War II out of reserves right now. So
yeah, and that's just dealing with United States equipment and funding, right? Like now you put U.S. operators behind that, right? Yeah. Now you have operators. Obviously, a lot of Ukraine's military, especially their special operators, are trained by SF and 10th Group and all that. But so that's a whole different ballgame when you get the real warhammer of the United States coming down. Nobody really wants that. All right, another one real quick from Johnny, $5. Thank you. How do SF guys manage food when going on missions? I'll tell you a little bit about that. And do they teach you anything special? Wait to eat when you return or eat before you go? Bro, I would eat as big a meal as possible before I stepped off because God knows how long that mission is going to last. It might be a 12 to 14 hour, nighttime raid that all of a sudden turns into a helicopter goes down and I'm out there for fucking a week and a half. You never know. But what I would always do, my dump pouch started full, bro. Like my dump pouch for your magazines, that started full. I would get 2 grilled cheeses from the cafeteria. I would pack those. I would always have like 2 or 3 Rippets. I don't know if Jake, were Rippets around when you were in? All the older GWAT veterans are gonna go Rippets. They're like basically methamphetamine in a can. They're energy drinks, little mini ones that you get downrange. I'd have a bag of jerky and then usually like a couple candy bars. And I would eat a grilled cheese on the helo on insertion. And then as soon as that mission was over and I hopped on the helo, I'd pull that second grilled cheese back out, dude. So I was eating the whole time, man. Because you got to imagine you're wearing 100+ pounds of kit. You're fucking running around. You're moving over multiple kilometers a lot of times doing actual combat. Like imagine the amount of calorie. And in the Middle East, it can be 100 fucking degrees out. For you to just not eat beforehand and then not eat on mission, not do that type of stuff, like, oh man, you are going to struggle bad. And I know you're going to struggle bad because during Ramadan, we would do missions all the time and I would watch my partner force trying to operate, having not eaten all day. And man, they're just fucking sucking the entire time. So and you can eat as much as you want before you go out on missions, right?
One thing I never took was MREs. So I don't know if you guys had if you guys had Mountain House.
Yeah.
But like when we go to the field, sometimes it takes a Mountain House. But most of the time, I had an old dude tell me this when I was in training before I went to SQT. He would always go in his pocket. He'd pull out his knife and he would cut a big circle, right? So I said, "Hey, bro, what are you doing?" He's like, "Look, man, this is the best survival food in the world." I'm like, "What do you got?" He's like, he pulled out a roller about this long of pepperoni. So I go to the deli and I just buy the whole log of pepperoni. And then I can't remember the name of the hard cheese, but it's about the same size.
Yep.
And so he had that in his cargo pocket on his pants, and he would just lop off a piece. You know, anytime he got hungry, it's 50% fat. And so I started doing that. That was like the cheat code of all cheat codes. It doesn't go bad. You can get it wet. It's impervious, but yeah, that whole eating stuff out, running around, sometimes it gets overlooked, right? Like I was a peanut butter and jelly guy. So like on the range, In my backpack, I had a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly from Walmart. So,
Yeah, I was
all right, I
never.
got.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nate.
You're
I
good.
got some questions for you. Okay, so let's hope the next civil war won't be between blacks and whites. It'll be about the whole annexation of Mexico and other countries south of the border. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That's a big one. I think if anything, we have a financial collapse in America that causes everybody to lose their minds. And I'm gonna say this: I think California could start a civil war. Um, if they're I feel like California is teetering on civil war, and it ain't gonna take much. It ain't gonna take much to light the fires in America to burn a lot of shit down. That's what I'm gonna say.
I don't
Nick,
see. Oh, I was gonna just
go
caveat
ahead,
that one
go
real
ahead, go
quick
ahead,
before
go
we move
ahead.
on. I don't see a race-based civil war. I see more of a class or political-based civil war. When I look at like division in America, true division, right? People hating fucking each other on a daily basis, right? Out in the open. I don't see it with race. Like just interacting with people. But you do see it with fucking politics, right? People on the left, people on the right will let each other know they hate each other's guts and be even potentially violent at a moment's notice, way more than anything race related at the moment in America. So for me, and I agree with you on that, Jake. I think California, it's so so misrun at this point. Like the fires showed that. Like they oh, we just have no
Have
water.
you
Sorry.
have you seen what's going on in the Palisades with the sales of the property? So they can't.
Oh. Uh,
Listen, this is crazy.
I know they can't get insurance, right?
Well, the insurance is so listen to this. I read the article yesterday. I was absolutely my jaw was on the ground. Okay, so they have a mansion tax in California. A
Okay.
lot of these houses in Palisades were real houses, like 6,000 square foot. Same thing down on Malibu Beach, right? Big ass houses. They were built long time ago, okay? So when you start adding up the cost, they're talking about $600 a square foot to rebuild a house in California. Think about that. I'm in Texas. It's $170 a square foot to build a house here. And we're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
$600. They're talking about it costs, it's like 25 to 30% more to build the house than the house is worth because they got to pay
What
mansion
the
tax.
fuck?
They got to get all the clearances. They got all this stuff going on. And so there's been a lot of people saying they burned down the Palisades because they wanted to run, I forget what it was through there, something else. But it's just you're looking at it, you're like, oh yeah, this is California, right? Like why isn't there a pump station from the ocean? Because they said we don't want to take the ocean's water to put out the fires.
That's
Come on,
so
bro. Like
crazy.
it's
That's
insane.
so
Okay, I
crazy.
got two more for you real quick, Nate. Drew wants to know, are you glad you retired? I know the answer, but go ahead.
Oh, that's an interesting one because man, I did not want to get out, did not want to retire. I was forced out just to so many injuries. I couldn't do the job anymore. Realistically, I just literally couldn't.
So
And I
so
was
Nate,
about
that
to
that didn't sound good,
get
Nate. You said you were forced out. Tell him why you were forced out.
Oh, I medically retired from injuries, guys. The
Yeah.
military didn't force me out. Opposite of that, actually, I was being set up for an NCOIC position to basically make E8 and then take a team. So I was right about to be in my team sergeant window, but I couldn't do anything. Like I was so fucked up from these shoulder reconstructions, and what I didn't want to be was the guy who just like sat on fucking admin for the rest of my career because I was so fucked up. Like the group won't force a good dude out, right? We'll find a place for you, but like that's not why we're doing the job, man. So if you're that
Yeah.
injured, then it's just time to go. So I went through like a real depression, poopy faced time period about it, right? Leaving the teams. And now on the back end, am I happy I'm retired? Yes. Like I started to realize repairing relationships with not that my relationship with my wife was bad, but I mean, again, you're just gone 6+ months out of the year for a decade. Um, Actually getting to spend time with my kids, like actually get to go to my daughter's events and my son's basketball and football games, which is like I am home for birthdays, like all of those things, and then my own mental health, I realized I started to massively improve. I was able to actually take care of my body and like start getting fixed and getting the things I need done. So now looking back on it, you don't realize when you're on the teams, like you're so in it. But like now that I got separated from it, yeah, I do miss the team life. Like I miss the job. Like that's where else can I can't like go out and skydive at night from 18,000 feet into like over the ocean to do an island hit, right? Like with my boys and like you can't do that anywhere else. But at the same time, so there's positive and negatives. I mean, I don't I miss I this is what I tell everybody. I miss being on the teams. I do not miss for a fucking millisecond being in the military. There's sort of two differences there. Everybody who's in the military, I'm sure, or spent time in the military can understand exactly what I mean. I miss the camaraderie, the brotherhood, team life, doing the fun parts of the job. I do not miss being in uniform, being told like my fucking mustache is too long, like being yelled at when I go to walk in the PX and forget to put my beret on to walk 6 feet, having to ask permission from another grown man when I'm 36 years old to go on vacation for 4 days. Like I don't miss any of that, right? But
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right,
real quick,
Kevin.
super chat. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me knock
I
this
got
one out
one too.
because this is
Yeah, you
from a
good.
long time ago. Squinter, $5. Great show. Guys, what's your opinion on Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense? That's actually an interesting one.
That's a good
I had
question.
my. Yeah, do you want to do your super chat first and then we'll hit them both?
Super chat. When does all this warfare catch up to us like it did Rome? I don't think we're far away. My personal opinion is, and I said this maybe a year ago, I think we're in the 5 to 10 year window. I think a lot's going to determine if we get a Democratic president in this next cycle. I think if it goes the other way, we could trigger complete bedlam. If we get a Republican, I think we'll probably be all right for another 2 terms. But I think it's more presidential based than it is time based. The second the Democrats get back into office, if they go willy nilly on DEI and all this other stuff again, I think we could see a complete, like Gavin Newsom is making tracks to try to run for president. If Gavin
Yep.
Newsom wins in 2028, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. I I don't know if you have you seen the new Gladiator movie, Jake?
Oh yeah, I did. I seen it. It was awesome. We got
I watched
Superbox. You got Superbox, Nate?
No, I don't know what that is.
Superbox is the best thing in the world. You get all the movies for free. You get all the fights, all the NFL games.
Superbox. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll look that up.
yeah,
All right,
yeah. If
so
you just
so
hit me up.
yeah, well, so here's why I bring that up. The question's good, right? We always juxtapose Fall of Rome, future Fall of America next to each other. What's that look like? If you haven't seen that, that movie is right before the Fall of Rome. Okay, and
Yep.
if you take a look at what's going on, who's in charge, what's society, Senate, all like the crazy parties and the LGBTQ and all of this sort of like cultural what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of degeneration, right? Like you can see it in that.
Cultural. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can
Yep.
see it in that movie, and we know that's what happened in Rome. Okay, it wasn't necessarily the wars that overdid Rome. It was the way basically what society turned into. And then I watched that movie, and I was like looking around at what society in America looked like in 2023 and 2024, and I was like, holy fuck. These are like, there is not a whole lot of difference in the insanity of what's going on here, right? You got two
Only
twin emperors who are psychopaths that, are throwing these debauchery parties, and you're like, and then I look at like Drag Queen Story Hour, and I'm like, there's kind of a lot of
how about
similarities to what's
OnlyFans?
going on here.
How about
OnlyFans, right?
how about OnlyFans
The
model
adult
making?
entertainment industry, like you could go
Yeah.
on and on and on. And I'm like, that's technically, or that's supposedly what the fall of Rome was caused by, was that, not so much like a failure from any military standpoint. So to me, you start to see that. And Europe too. Look at Europe. Everywhere we see that type of cultural and societal behavior, you're seeing sort of the collapse of a lot of these societies. And is America got 750 more years in it before it's no longer the superpower? Because that's how far we have to go to match Rome. You realize that, right? We have another
Yeah.
750 years to go before we meet where the fall of Rome would have been. I agree with Jake. I think this election was important. I think the next election is maybe the most important because it's either going to solidify to the left, which is, hey, no, Americans have decided we don't want that bullshit. Okay. And so the left will have to come back to center. You see Gavin Newsom doing that right now with his comments
Yep.
about how he agrees that men shouldn't be competing in women's sports all of a sudden, right? He's trying to bring that back to center so that they can win. But if they stay with this insanity and then they win, let's say Kamala Harris AOC runs and they fucking win, what is that? And it'll be like, think about these surgical level executive actions and all this crazy shit that's going on to change things right now. Think about them coming into office and doing the same thing back the other way. I mean, it's like Jake said, I think that is, to me, very scary. I think whatever needs to happen culturally, we need to move back to center a little bit, right? Because we never do well on the fringes. Right, you know, right now, I mean, I'd rather us be towards the conservative fringe after what we've dealt with. But too much of that for too long too, right?
Nate, I wouldn't even say conservative. I would just say, can we please use some common sense? And the example I'm going to give.
That's what I mean by getting back to center is like, can we just be fucking common sense, regular fucking country again?
Like a man should not be competing in women's sports.
Not a complicated issue.
It's not complicated like that. No, there's a reason there's women's sports, right? We should
probably deport violent illegal immigrants that are fucking convicted for sexual assault crimes. That's not a complicated issue.
Should we be paying for trans surgeries in prison? That's common sense.
Not just prison, but in India.
I'm not paying for nobody's surgery if they in prison. No cosmetic surgery in prison. I don't care if you got 5 years on your forehead. You got 5 years and you're in prison, bro. We're not paying for it.
Yeah. Or so Sesame Street in Iraq.
Sesame Street in Iraq, all of them, okay? Man, now we trying to get off the line and everybody coming in with super chats.
Yeah, I got a few
let's
too.
Talk about your Pete Hegseth. So here's my take on Pete, okay? Here's what I'm going to tell you about the military, all right? Military is full of a bunch of old, crusty generals that literally have been in the military for 40 years. And they think like they're in the 19s. Legitimately, they think they're in the 1960s, okay? I would rather have some random-ass 42-year-old who was a major as the SecDef thinking about things as a 42-year-old than having some crusty dude from the 60s. Now, will he make some mistakes maybe? Yeah. Do we have too many? The thing I love, Trump said he's going back to 7 generals. You hear about that?
Yeah. I hadn't heard about that, but I don't think we need any more than that. Yeah.
We have 436 generals. He's like, no, we're going to, we don't need that many generals. And so it's like one of those things where I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like that's common sense. So I like the fact that we have a 42-year-old. I don't give a shit if he's swinging a sword. I don't give a shit if he might not be the most qualified from years, because I'm going to say this. I go look at a kid like Elon Musk or, the Facebook kid or some of the kids out there that are building companies at 19. And I would rather have that train of thought running the Department of Defense than a 70-year-old man.
Yeah, I had my reservations at first, and the biggest ones were just like, and not really reservations, but same thing. Is this guy got enough experience? If war with fucking China kicks off in Taiwan, does he have the experience? Well, does fucking Lloyd Austin have the experience? Because from what I saw, obviously fucking not, right? So I agree. I think what I like about him is he's got energy, and he's going and visiting the places that are issues. He's going to the border, talking to the troops. What's going on here? He's going to 10th Special Forces Group, doing workouts with them. What are your guys' issues? That, to me, is going to bring a lot more positivity and understanding of what he needs to do than him being surrounded by a bunch of 4-star generals, like you said, that haven't seen combat in 40 years. I mean, for example, right, one of the guys that I've met through my dad, who was in Vietnam as a Green Beret with my dad, also he's in the Special Forces Hall of Fame, of course, but he also was in the Global War on Terror and wrote the battle plan for Afghanistan. Same guy in SF from Vietnam to the mid 2000s, right? Now, not to say that's a bad thing necessarily, but that shows you those are the people in charge. And yes, is it necessarily a bad thing to get a 40-year-old who served in the global war on terror to potentially be in charge? I think he's doing fine so far. I haven't seen anything to me that's like, oh, what have we done? This was a huge mistake. Why did we do this? And we have those from the last administration. Watch withdrawal with Afghanistan. So, real quick, super chat for me, Tactical Possum again. Thank you, $5. Appreciate you, brother. The U.S. has already, this is an older one. The U.S. has already been training Mexicans, according to Ed Calderon, a former police special forces in TJ. He received training from the military and other U.S. agencies. Yeah, Green Berets have been training Mexico, Colombia, Taiwan, Thailand, Japan, Ukraine, and 93 other countries for the last 30 years. Pick a country, pick a military. Green Berets have trained it if they are even remotely not, if they are not just literally Iran, North Korea, Russia, and a few other countries. Green Berets have been there and have been training them. So yeah, that's a normal thing, guys. All right. What did I? Okay,
I got one
we're
more.
caught.
Oh, I got
Shit.
two more. Let me hit the small one first. From your perspective, how can a single person help unfuck the world, restore honor and unity to the world? Military is not an option for me. That one's pretty easy to me, man. Just serve the generation below you, right? Like if you can't go in the military, be a school teacher, right? Have good morals and values
Yep.
and try to raise the next generation. Like my whole mission in life is to raise 3 savages in life. My kids right now, all 3 of my kids are so much better than I was at any period of time in my life. That my 3 kids are better than I am. I'm trying to raise 3 generational talent kids, and I'm focused on raising them the right way. You know, by the time I was in 7th grade, I had been suspended from school a couple times. I got kicked out of school for fighting. I had caused a teacher to have a nervous breakdown and got kicked out of school. Like, it wasn't good. My kids, I go to school and the teachers are like, man, you got the best kids in the world. And I like, that's what I'm focused on. And I'm focused on helping the next generation of warfighters. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I not far off that. Treat people with respect, and also, if you're a parent, do exactly what Jake said, because I can tell you, be present for your kids, raise your kids to be of high moral standards, discipline, all those things. Because I can tell you this, the biggest issue the United States has by far is fatherless households, period. Our society, as an issue, there's nothing that comes close. You can tie everything to it. You can tie crime to it. You can tie drug addiction to it. You can tie almost every problem we have to fatherless households and communities, right? Not now, again, it's not 100%, but we know from data that's just the truth. So the best thing you could do to help society, be a good father, be a good friend, be a good husband. If everyone did that, I can tell you this would be a whole different world. Just that.
Whole
Just
different.
that. Nothing
Totally
else.
different.
Yep.
You got another? I got one more.
No, I'm good. All right.
Okay,
If we get this one out, we're closing up after
we're
this one,
done.
guys.
Yeah. We're going too long. Is there anything that both of you, super chat from Alf, the hip hop slam, is there anything that both of you learned from the service that you wish could be incorporated into civilian corporate sector? For
Civilian
me,
corporate
the
sector.
one thing that I think that's really slimy about the American corporate section is the fact that all of the proceeds of the money, all the earnings go out overseas. So if you go look at the tax implications, and Trump has said this, if every business just paid their taxes on earned income, that we wouldn't need taxes in America. But they're shipping that to Turks and Caicos. They're shipping that to offshore accounts. They're writing it off as a management fee, and billions of dollars are leaving this country that should be for taxes. So from a military perspective, that would be an audit or an accountability audit, and that's what I think we need. I had said this before. I wish that we had a federal tax person that had, if you're a Fortune whatever company, you make more than 10 million a year, the IRS has an employee that works in your comptroller's office and determines your tax rate.
I mean, it'd be a better use of 67,000 IRS agents than they're using now.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's things I could change to bring to the corporate world. Well, I haven't been in the corporate world. I'm recently retired. Jake's way more knowledgeable on that than me. I'm looking at it from just being an MBA student and seeing the problems arrive from that. Um, I mean, leadership. I think from what I've
That
seen,
that's always
like
that's always at the top of the food chain, leadership.
when you compare high level leaders and like special operations to your run of the mill manager out of a civilian business, there's nowhere close. It's not like leadership capabilities, understanding the difference between managing people and leading people because they're not the same thing at all. I think corporate thinks leadership is management, whereas the military understands that leadership is leadership, right? And leaders do sometimes manage, but again, this is a whole can of worms you could open up. But I think that's probably the biggest one. And I think most companies, and it's why there's so many of these companies that will pay guys like Ben Pappas to come teach us how to be a leader because we don't know what we're doing. So
Yep.
that's probably
Yep.
the biggest one. All right, now I got
Awesome,
another one.
man. All right, let's go.
All right, real quick. From Joel Angelis. Hope I said your name right. $10. Thank you, brother. Do you see a possible conflict breaking out into Mexico if cartels fire at Border Patrol or troops? If so, do you see resemblances towards the current border situation in Mogadishu? Um, Conflict breaking out, pop shots? Probably not really. I would say if you start seeing like a ton of activity um, going towards the border, which is going to be hard, guys, because we have aviation units down there. They're going to start bringing in Predator drones and ISR feeds. And for you to get close enough to engage with small arms fire at the U.S. military at the border wall itself, you ain't getting out of that one, most likely, right? Now we have striker brigades down there. Like we have the ability to just come grab you. Now it's possible. I don't see it large scale enough happening to where we need to then be like, all right, bring the Abrams in. We're clearing out 100 miles of white space into Mexico. I think we could do it, right? There's nothing anybody could do to stop us, but like, will that happen? I don't think so. And as for comparatively to Mogadishu, I mean, nah, I doubt it, right? That's a completely different situation. We can mobilize 5,000 troops to come get you at the border, whereas Mogadishu, like, that's a complete, yeah, you're in Africa and you're in a full, completely different country. You got what you got, right? You got Ranger Bat there and some CAG dudes, and now you're doing the best you can. That's a completely different situation to be in, just logistically, I think.
Yeah, and you got to realize we got all these army bases across the southern tier, right? Like you start here,
Hmm.
Hood, you got
Yeah, Hood,
El
you can just, yeah, you
Paso,
can,
you like,
right, you
and
just
I'm gonna
deploy
say
huge infantry units down there.
I have massive Air Force bases in San Antonio. Two massive They could restage 500
Yuma,
fighter
right?
planes
Like,
between
yeah.
Yuma and us. We could
Yuma
have
Proving Grounds is right there, like 8 minutes from the
yeah,
border. Yeah.
we could have 50% of our Air Force stationed on the southern border in 4 days.
Yeah.
So, we're not going without resources or air support. Crazy,
Yeah.
man, Nate.
All right, we did
Crazy.
it.
We're
Good one
done.
today, guys. Thank you for
Banger.
all the super chats on both channels, guys, and all the good questions.
Absolutely.
We
Thank
went
you
definitely
guys.
longer than we thought, but I mean, if you guys, if you can keep us here, you keep us here. It is what it is. So that's gonna
Nate,
do it. We're gonna.
are you
Yeah,
you
go
on
ahead.
spring break? You on spring break for the kids?
Not yet, man. We got 2 more weeks.
We
This
got
this
spring break.
upcoming week, finals week, and then spring break.
I'm taking my kids. They're gonna go ride motorcycles on the ranch. So I'm kind of
Hell yeah.
fired up. Like my one kid been ripping the motorcycle around the neighborhood, and like I'm like, oh, we're gonna go out there. He crashed yesterday though. So funny story. Let me share this funny story with you. You love this, Nate. So my other son comes in. Hey, Lewis crashed. Bad. I go out there. He got this huge dirt clod stuck on his chest. Right. I'm like, what's wrong, man? He said, I crashed. I'm like, okay. Does the motorcycle start? He's like, I don't know. So I started up. I'm like, oh, it's running. It's fine. So
Yeah.
he gets back on it. He's like, it's too windy. I fell over because of the wind. I said, oh, okay. Whatever. Make sure you put
It's
it back in
too
the garage.
windy.
Right? So I go back in the house. My wife goes, is he okay? I said, I don't know. I didn't ask him about it, if he's okay. Well, what do you
Yeah.
mean? He crashed. I didn't want to bring any light to his injuries or anything else. The
Right.
motherfucker got back on the motorcycle and rode off. That's all I care about. Like, if he's
Yep.
hurt, he ain't hurt bad enough not to ride a motorcycle. So I
Yep.
thought it was funny because I had the same situation when I was a kid. I had gravel stuck in my hand, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, is the motorcycle okay?" Like I did the exact same thing. So anyway,
Yep. That's the way you got to do it, man. Especially for the
I
young boys, right? If they're
yes
not active,
sir.
if you don't got like bones sticking out of your arm, right? A little
Yo,
spit and grease on that, get back on it. It'll be fine. All right,
all right, big
guys.
dog.
That's going to do it for
Thanks,
this
Nate.
one. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one. All right.